Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another round of the ORL Tier 1 Championship Season 16. And today we are a few minutes away from starting affairs at the Akir International Circuit, home of the Bahrain Grand Prix. This is Ruben Reis Bagmania beside me in the commentary booth, Juana Gaunt Brito. And Juana, good evening. How are you doing today? It's going to be an exciting race for sure. Can Haddad continue his streak of victories? Can Danny Beresnay finally put a stop to that and have a say on his championship hopes as well? or will we have finally some luck go the Italians' way with, well, apart from Haddad, the other Italians are not having the strongest of championship. Lovece had his fair share of misfortunes, Iamulo as well. What do you think is going to happen today? I can see you are hopefully for at least one of them to happen this afternoon, but yeah, what are your takes on?
Good evening, Ruben. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, trying to send some good luck into the Faenza team tonight. Let's see if it works. But yeah, hopefully they'll finally get some more points. Um, they had a good race in China. Unfortunately, it didn't really count to the championship, and I'm sure they'll try to replicate that tonight. Regarding the rest of our grid, we had the few guys we interviewed at the end of last week's race. They all said it was a circuit they liked, they felt strong in. So I think we're for quite a treat. Um, Very curious to see. Of course, Danielia will try his best to continue his streak of wins, but tonight is the night that Danny has to put his foot down, and as he so families does on the brakes, but now on the throttle, and gets a win for the McLaren team.
Yeah, exactly. Also, looking at some other drivers, for example, Sven Zerner, he really had a misfortune. Um, Dutch Grand Prix. It was the first time he didn't score any points. He disconnected several times. Some sort of issue with his equipment, unfortunately, put his hopes down for the race of the last weekend. But hopefully he can get back today and get something going. Let's see if he's able to do that today. Also, looking further down, Samuel Bean got his first top 5 of the season last week at Zandvoort, so he's another one to look out for. And we do have a few reserves racing today, and also one debut from our drivers. So we will have a debutee Alfa Romeo. And Joanna, what do you expect
Sorry, from
from our debutee for
I yeah, I know Milan is I'm not it might be yeah, it's his first race, but I know he's a very strong driver. I've seen him raced a few times elsewhere, and I'll look forward to see what he can do. Um I believe he'll try to get some points at least. Um and let's see if he can help the Alfa Romeo team, who has been having a bit of an unfortunate of some unfortunate results in general. So let's see if he can get some points for the Helvetic Helvetic Italian team.
yeah, it's going to be the Imwheel based team for sure. Looking at some of the drivers, we still are waiting for everyone to get ready with the lobby for us to get going with our qualifying session. But looking at some other names, I'm, for example, also Alessio Di Capua. I mentioned Camolo and Lovece, but um, Dario Mulo, sorry, Alessio Di Capua has also not had the greatest of seasons. He did start strong in the preseason, second place finish, hasn't been able to score any points so far. So it's not really of starts for Kansas based team, as Anna also mentioned. Istvan Puki, if which I'm not sure if he is, of driver.
He is.
Okay, and he could make a very good result. He has gotten a third place finish at the season opener in Canada, fourth place in Belgium, sixth at Zandvoort, and yeah, it might be a good streak of results from him. Also, Zella Christoph, he made his debut at Zandvoort and got a podium on his first attempt at it. So it's also going to. He takes part of the race today. Get a good of. So, Joanna, any predictions for this session?
I'm going to say the same names all over again. It's not fun. But yeah, Daniele, Dani, and I'm going to say Alessio Di Capo, just to make it two Italians and one Hungarian, with the Hungarian really trying to win tonight.
So just checking if everything right. We are still subscribers before we can start with the qualifying session. But yeah, of course, who can at the moment bet against Haddad, right? He's really strong this early on the season, like he in great form, and Justin Martin hopeful that he can continue, further extend championship. At the moment he sits a 42-point gap, second place championship. So a command position. Yes, he is in at the moment. Very tough to for the foreseeable future. Of course, the Mercedes team, Manolo Villar and Patrick Kuti, they are trying their hardest. They are second and third in the championship. They are second in the Constructors' Championship. Well, only 6 points behind Aston Martin. So
was actually what I was going to bring up. If the drivers' championship looks a bit looking Daniele's way, in the constructors' championship is a much closer fight between the Aston Martin and the Mercedes, and I'm sure that the McLaren team. Although Williams is really close to them, will definitely try to close this gap as well. Especially considering that they had, well, not the best result they could have, but a strong result in Belgium, a podium, a second place last week. So I'm pretty sure that Sven Zerner will try to get back to his former form. He had got points in both Canada and Belgium, so they might try to catch up to Aston and Mercedes. But yeah, Mercedes will be having, as usual, Patrick and Manolo, both representing their colors, and Aston Martin, Daniele, and Samuel Bin. So let's see. Um, Manolo has been having, it's a bit in the same wagon as Van Zerner. He had both good races, even better really in Canada and Belgium, and then a bad luck, a very bad race result in Netherlands.
got 16 at Zandvoort. He got second in Canada, third in Belgium. So a really stronger trend compared to Sven Zerner, but he's kind of. The Alpine drivers hasn't scored any points, but we'll see if they can kickstart their championship hopes today. With that, we are getting ourselves through to the qualifying session. We'll get back to you in moments. But for that, let's take a look at the Bahrain International Circuit. Of course, the crown jewel of the desert, this 5.4 kilometer circuit. It is not for the well, it is not a very easy track. It is actually very tricky, few traction zones. Of course, the brakings of turns 8 and 9 always very difficult of this track, and of course this third sector with those flowing turns 12 and 13 can always catch someone on the curbs, very slippery curves, and they can pose some threats to the drivers. Well, they're intense today. So with that, taking a look at the standings, it is Daniel Haddad with 75 points in a commanding lead, with over double the points of second placed Manolo Villar, who has 33 points to his name. Patrick Rutte in the second Mercedes with 28 points. Ben Zerner in fourth with 25, leads Alvaro Carreton. which with 25 points closes our top 5. After that we have Alessio Di Capua, followed by Samuel Bean, Domenico Lovece, Daniel Bereznay, Bernardo Perez closes our top 10. Looking to the constructors, it is the Silverstone-based Aston Martin in the lead with 67 points, followed by Mercedes, then McLaren, Williams with 35 points, then AlphaTauri closing the top 5, followed by Ferrari in 6th place with 18 points, 10 points above the American Scuderia of Haas. Red Bull is sitting in 8th place with 6 points, Alfa Romeo in 9th with a single point, and Alpine has been the only team to not score so far, and they sit in last place. So with that, let's get ourselves going and get ourselves started with the qualifying session for this Bahrain Grand Prix. So here we are back on the track, and we already have a few cars out there trying to put some rubber on the track. It's intermediates for Dani Bereznay early on in the session.
Yeah, both him and I think both Williams, although Cordoningolo is still on the pits. With the intermediates, we've been used to them using them on the first qualifying session. It is a bit of an indicator that it probably won't rain, but then again, we're at Bahrain. I've never seen it raining in this track unless it was configured that way. Only sandstorms here, at least in real life. But yeah, quite a few drivers also on the medium compound. Only Alexis Marichon on the softer compound, on track at least at the moment.
Exactly. So let's see what they are able to achieve at the moment. Alessio Di Capua just started this lap. Let's go on board with him for the time being. 100 meters away from turn 1. Hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear. Do not touch the inside curb. Go on the power as early as you can to turns number 2 and 3. Now the 2nd DRS zone. DRS wide open before the braking zone of turn number 4. Brake as the curb starts on the left hand side. Explore the full width of the track, as Alessio does, with a bit of a correction in the steering wheel before heading down into the slalom of turns 5, 6 and 7. Hard on the brakes once again for turn number 8. Short shifting to 4th gear. Try to rotate the car as much as you can with the throttle before heading downhill into turns number 9 and 10. Always very hard to spot your braking point. Nonetheless, good exit from Alessio Di Capua up through the gears through this 3rd DRS zone. Braking about 60 meters away, just a dab on the brakes, downshift a couple times, and go away on the power. Uphill now through turns 12 and 13. Hard on the brakes once again, carrying the most possible speed through the apex of turn number 13. And now it is officially one movement of the steering wheel, but it is also considered to be a double corner to the right. Alessio Di Capua, huge snap of oversteer as he went over the curbs on the exit. Nonetheless, he still posts a 1:27.093, which unfortunately for him looks like it was invalidated. Yare Santiago is also another contender to posting a lap time of his own. Let's see what he can do. Anna.
I was following him with the purple in the middle sector, and of course now purple in the whole lap, as he is the first one posting a lap of a 1:27.484 on the medium compound. Still early in the session, still I'm pretty sure this time will still fall a lot during tonight's qualifying session. But yeah, Dani Bereznay back to the pits for some soft compound. And we have quite a few drivers at this moment on their fast laps. Right now I'm with Patrick Rutik. He's also on the mediums, also on his first attempt. His teammate's still in the pit.
Exactly. In the meantime, let's take a look at some other drivers. We have Alexis Morichon trying to complete his first attempt. He gets a 35.3, so not exactly an ideal lap from him. Alessio Di Capua, is he bringing himself back into the pits, or... Oh no, he spins out of the last corner. That's the second time in a row that he finds issues. out of the last corner. Hopefully he didn't, well, get himself in the way of any of his rivals. Meanwhile, Daniel Haddad gets a 126.7, brings himself onto provisory pole position. Ben Szabo is about to start a lap of his own, just on his outlap at the moment. We also have
closing the lap.
Yeah, exactly. The Mercedes gets himself P2 with a 127.4, and behind him is the Mercedes of Istvan Nagy. Aborts his attempt, goes into the pits. And after that, the track is quite clear at the moment. We do have Vadim Tsvetkov on a second attempt, perhaps. He did nullify his first lap. So let's see if the number 95 of the Haas is able to post a second timed lap, or if he's going into the pits. Let's wait a few moments to find out. He's going to go and complete this attempt. 127.7 on the mediums. Not too bad of a lap from him. Alexis Morichon also on the start-finish straight, but he brings it to the pits, and now it's Ben Szabo just starting a lap on his Red Bull. So
look to Daniel Haddad, I think he's still pushing. At least the game showed me as a purple in the middle sector. He's now on the final two corners. I'll probably just call it the final corner. I'm sorry, no, but he goes to the pits. But he was pushing. He was pushing. He enters the pit with a 126.7 when he crosses the line. So no, that's a bug. That's a bug.
Yeah, that was not.
But he was on a 125 when he crossed the pit line. So. He was definitely pushing, but only to come back to the pits.
Yeah, it went still fast, but to bring it back into the pits. So Ben Szabo is the only driver at the moment on a flying lap. A lot of drivers just came out of the pits, so we are about to get some more action. But for the time being, Ben Szabo has also been on a good string of results, if I remember correctly. But we are going to have to wait and see for what the Red Bull driver can deliver this afternoon. Another driver running with the number 95, this time in the Red Bull, as opposed to Vadim Tsvetkov in the Haas. Look at him. That was a nice picture of how far to the left do these drivers take their cars before turning into the last corner. He does achieve second place. 27.2 for him on the mediums as well. So a good lap. Samuel Bean is one of the next drivers to wrap up their own laps. Again, Samuel Bean did achieve 4th place at Zandvoort, so he might be looking for a good stretch of form. Let's not forget he didn't have the best of afternoons at Belgium.
Well, you can only say that because you're expecting the best of Samuel Bean. Truth is, in 3 races he finished on the point on all of them, so not too bad of a form, if we may say, but definitely not what he was aiming to.
He was involved in a few scraps. He was involved in some drama at Spa. That's why he finished. He still finished in the points, but he was put out of contention quite early. Let's see what he does now. Gets pole for himself. 125.5 on the soft tires. Extremely good lap from him. Up next we have, I believe it's Nardi Perez about to complete his lap. No, it's not. That was his teammate just about to begin a lap of his own. We do have the Red Bull of Istvan Pukki midway through his lap. About to wrap it up though. Yeah, he's about to wrap his line or his lap. Nardi Perez got himself P2. Ooh, there's a wobble there from Istvan Pukki, and he brings himself right into the pits. Istvan Nagy getting himself through the last corner as well. Let's see what he can achieve. Milan Meyer gets P4. Zoltan Bode gets P7, but Nagy beats all of them with a 126.598 for the McLaren driver. Good performance from him so far. Danny Berezna is about to start a lap of his own, and I believe it's Rookie, the next one to finish his lap. No, it's actually his teammate, Domenico Lovece, who is just wrapping up his outlap. But let's follow the number 21 of the Ferrari for now. See what he can achieve. Also hasn't had the strongest of starts to the season. So, Joanna, what do you see?
Yeah, so far so good. An AlphaTauri there, but clearly pulling to the side to let the driver from the of the team from Maranello through. Finishing now the second sector. With the 14744, the game keeps showing blue, purple, but I guess it's our usual bug showing up. Let's see, he arrives at the last corner of, as I said, it's a corner for me of the track. He crosses the line, and it's P4 for now. It's a 126.099.
Yeah, we have Dario Mulo. Oh, looks like he aborted his lap though. Dario Mulo not really being happy with his performance, so he's going to take another crack at it. In the meanwhile, we do have someone else crossing the line. Was it Santiago? I believe it was. No, it was one of the Williams, Codorningolo, perhaps? Yes, it was Codorningolo wrapping up his lap. Achieves a 126.3. In the meantime, Beresnay finally finished his lap. Gets a 25.8, the McLaren driver. And now, we finally have Lovece. Gets himself P4. A 125.8. And the times, especially that top 3, is getting quite close to each other at the moment. So let's see what the drivers can achieve from here on in. And Joanna, we already have most drivers posting their laps. Sometimes are surely going to drop towards the end of the session. But what do you have to say about the performance drivers are displaying so far in this qualifying session?
I don't think it's the first time that we see Istvan Pukki on a tough spot at the end of qualifying session number 1. Still almost 5 minutes to go, it's true, but the Red Bull driver with no time on the score board, so a tough situation for him in the sense that he won't have as many opportunities and have to be careful to really not invalidate his attempt. Also in danger are both Mercedes drivers, Patrick and Manolo, both on out of the top 15 at the moment, so would be the first two starting outside, not going to Q2. But yeah, Patrick is returning to the pits. He's doing it quite slowly as well, and his teammate is about to start a lap. In the meantime, we have Istvan Pukki finally trying to set a time.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of traffic ahead of him. I think it was either his teammate or an Alfa Romeo getting out of the way, and now the McLaren, as he breaks into the hairpin, going to the second DRS zone, opening his DRS. Let's see if he can get a good time, or if he's actually going to send 2 laps in a row, as it sometimes happens in this F1 2021.
Yeah, let's see what he can achieve. Of course, doesn't have too much left in the lap at the moment. Looks like he's on pace for a decent time at the moment. Let's see if he can, or the quality of his first timed lap, unless he does any sort of mistake coming out of this turn number 15. And he actually aborts it. He comes back into the pits. Meanwhile, his teammate Ben Szabo gets himself a P4. Let's take a look now. It's Milan Mayer, the debutee for today. Just started a lap of his own. Vadim Tsvetkov is also starting a lap of his own. Who is already on a flying lap is Manolo Villar through the middle sector.
On the third sector, actually.
Yeah, he's already started with the third one. So let's see what the number 58 can achieve. Of course, both Brackley-based drivers are trying to take the fight to Daniel Haddad in the top of the standings. He gets P9 for the time being. And we also have Zoltan Boda starting his lap. So let's take a look at the other Alfa Romeo. But not before completing Vetkov's lap. This is still through the middle sector.
It's invalidated.
Oh, it's invalidated. So let's... Yeah, Paris Burel, the other Haas, is also on an outlap, so I believe the next driver to complete the lap could be one of the McLaren, sorry. Yeah, it's Van Nagy. The live timing tells us that he is currently about a second faster, sorry, a tenth faster than his previous attempt. Let's see if that is confirmed or not. Ooh, slight lock up on the front right, headed into the last corner of this track. He crosses over the line now, but the lap is invalidated, I believe.
Right behind him, Milan jumps to P6 with a 1:25.876. He took more than 8 tenths from his last attempt, I believe. Good effort from the Alfa Romeo driver, our rookie without being named rookie, if we may say so. Yeah, now pulling to the side to let Dario Yemolo by, who is still on outlap, so not exactly the most critical driver to let by. We also have Alexis Morichon on fast lap, the driver with a slower time at the moment. Let's see what he can achieve.
Exactly. In the meantime, we've seen Nardi Perez get himself 6th place at the moment. Let's see what the Alpine does. Getting through the line now, only up to 16th, and I'm not sure if he has some energy to spare, something else in the tank to go for a second lap. I think this is it for his qualifying efforts for Alexis Morichon. Looking at the map, we have Paris Burel about to close a lap of his own. He's actually going to abort it. He's pulling off into the pits. Now we have Istvan Nagy, who might be, yes, he's pulling himself back onto the pits as well, or at least aborting the attempt.
Sorry to correct you, Racebuck, but no, Alexis Morichon is on the second attempt. He took half a tenth of on the first sector. Let's see what he can achieve on the middle and last sectors. If he can improve the 1:26.2, there is now the time of reference from Yeri Santiago, his teammate.
Exactly. So Morichon at the moment is improving, as you said, but he did start this lap with about 30% of his battery charge. So I'm not sure if he has enough to carry himself through the remainder of this lap. And he's actually invalidated. Yeah, he invalidated the lap. So let's take a look at some other drivers at the moment. Zoltan Boda, I believe he aborted his attempt. I believe he was quite slow in the middle sector. So it's about Istvan Pukki at the moment, also in the middle sector. Let's see if he can finally get himself a valid lap time. Getting through the last corner. After him, there's a rookie in the Ferrari. Let's see what Pukki does. Coming over the line now. Gets himself P5 with the 25.8. And then rookie crosses over the line. Does not improve. Has to settle for 14th. Fortunately for him, it is still enough to keep going in the qualifying session, because the only driver in a position to improve, or the only drivers, are Dario Yamulu and possibly Patrick Kruti. Not sure where the Mercedes is on track at the moment. Yamulu grabs himself before, and Kruti is in the back straight, leading into the last corner. Let's see what the pole can achieve, and looks like he's actually aborting it, so he probably knows that there's no chance that he will be demoted, so just saving the tire life as much as he could do after that attempt, but nonetheless brings it back into the pits. And this is it for Q1, and it is Samuel Bin leading the timesheet, so 1-2 for the Aston Martin team. And Joanna, before we get word back to you, just reminding everyone that we have a giveaway live at the moment in this partnership between ORL and BenQ, or Mobiuz. And of course, we are giving away the monitor, the EX3410R. And to do that, you need to head on to Twitter, follow Mobiuz, follow Team ORL, like the tweets they have posted about this giveaway, and retweet that same tweet with the hashtags you see in your screen. So do that, because we are running out of time for that giveaway to run its course. It ends at midnight of the 15th, so the midnight of the 15th, the giveaway is over. No more entries are allowed. So we have about 2 days, less than 2 days for that giveaway. We have now our results with Samuel being in P1, then Haddad, Di Capua, then Nemulo, Sabo, Isvan, Domenico Olvece, Narde Perez, Milan, Berezne, closing our top 10. Two drivers were knocked out early on in P1, unfortunately. Joanna, what any points? Something noteworthy about the Q1? Do you have?
I think it's also the first time that Paris is racing with us this season, and he just managed to grab a spot on qualifying session number 2. So well done for the Haas driver. Now the only Haas that will be on track, at least for the qualifying session. But yeah, let's see if Dani Berezne can get a better, not really in Q2, but in Q3 if he passes. Let's see if he can get a better time, because right now it's looking very much Aston Martin's way.
Yeah, they are, well, somewhat in control as much as one can be in Q1. Of course, not everyone has revealed their full hand this early on in the race weekend, if I can say that. But of course, they are going to start reveal some more of their weapons as time goes on, and we already have a few drivers out there on the track, and the first one of them is actually the Alpine. I believe it's Nardi Perez. No, it's actually the Williams. But yeah, I'm
Not
still.
a Perez, but it's a Williams.
Yeah, I'm still getting thrown off by these different shades of blue.
Well,
Oh.
you have no Alpine in this session, so you're safe.
Okay, I'm safe about that. So at least until the start of the race. But we do have Nardi Perez about to start his lap. So let's go on board with him for the time being. Let's see what he can achieve from here on in. About to start his first lap of this Q2 session. He's on the soft, so getting himself, unless these are the softs he used in Q1, just giving himself the best chances of a good lap. Earlier on the session, a nice banker lap, hard into the brakes into this first sector. A bit of hesitation into turn 1, got a bit wide. He does go quite aggressively onto the curbs on the inside of turn 2 and the exit of turn number 3. Now all the way up through the gears before slamming the brakes once again into turn number 4. You need to be smooth on the power to avoid any slip from the rear end. As you head now down through the slalom. Turns 5, 6 and 7. Hard on the brakes into turn 8. Of course, the curbs. You need to explore the curbs during the end of that second sector, but you also need to be aware that they can put you in a wall very easily indeed. His car looked planted on the hairpin of turns 9 and 10. Now dab on the brakes into turn number 11, using the full width of the track to carry as most speed possible. Up through the gears once again, wrapping up sector number 2 with a 105. So that's not exactly on the quickest spectrum of laps, of lap times. Nonetheless, it might be a good...
But with a 1-4 3 right behind Manolo, who is right behind him. So these times will go down.
Yeah, so we'll have the Mercedes now coming through, 126.5. After that, it's Haddad. Gets himself 25.6. Then Kruti got his lap invalidated. And Milan Meyer, let's see what he can achieve. Unfortunately, 126.4, but invalidated. After that, we have one of the Ferraris with Domenico Olvece. Gets himself P3. And then the Red Bull of Ben Szabo, but Ben Szabo is just about to wrap up his outlap. So, two drivers who got out of the pits later on and are now starting their attempts. Also, a few drivers. Yeah, go ahead.
Meanwhile, we have Zoltan Boda on his third sector of his flying lap. No invalidation so far, so let's see what the... he invalidates on the last lap! Sorry. I think I'm feeling like I cursed him. Zoltan gets invalidated on the last lap, and that invalidates also the next lap. So, bit of a tough luck for the Alfa Romeo driver. He'll sure try better in the next attempt.
Yeah, so we do have Istvan Pukki wrapping up his outlap. Right behind him is Nardi Perez. Let's see if the Spaniard is going for a second attempt or if he's pulling off into the pits. He's pulling off into the pits. The Mercedes, it's Villar behind him. Also Haddad pulling in. Let's see, Patrick Cruti is also pulling off into the pits despite invalidating his first attempt.
Next one on a flying lap is Dario Yemolo. His teammate is ahead but has invalidated his attempt. So let's see what the AlphaTauri driver can do on his first attempt. Oh no, he also comes into the pit.
So Pukki is pulling himself out of the pits at the moment. So it's Pukki who gets himself, Saboconi gets himself P2. Pukki is on a flying lap but he's still in sector number 2. So it's the Red Bull claiming second spot. Still, Haddad is the only one to get a lap time in the 10:25s so far in the session. We have Zoltan Boda now, fortunately with his lap invalidated, so surely about to pull off into the pits soon. There he goes to his garage for another set of tires and for a bit of fuel. And we have Istvan Pukki now about to complete his lap as the field is chasing field at 1:25.6 posted by Haddad. Let's see what Pukki does. He's coming over the line now. He gets P2 and very close to that 1:25 mark. Still not good enough, but very similar lap time, only about a tenth separating both sides of the Milton Keynes based team garage. And a decent showing so far for both their drivers. We do have another torrent of drivers getting out of the pits. Nardi Perez, Bereznay finally heads out for his first attempt. A rookie also is out there on the track, but he is about to wrap up his outlap, so he's going to be the next one to start a flying lap. And Joanna, I guess his season has been a bit up and down. What do you expect from Rookie this afternoon?
That's actually an interesting driver to follow. He has finished Canada in P8, Belgium P9, and Netherlands P11, so I'm sure he'll want to go back to the points awarding positions. In the meantime, both Aston Martins getting out of the garage really close, only now on the third sector, giving each other some space. I was kind of thinking if they were going to just start it. Oh, well, Sam Albin will not be starting his lap because he invalidated his lap and he dives into the pit lane, knowing that the next lap will also be invalidated. So we have El Houki, you were speaking about him, finishing his second sector with a 1:48. It's worse than Daniele. I think Daniele did a 1:83. Sorry, 4:3. Yeah, .3. Sorry, it was the same second, but I lost how much it was. El Houki getting into the pit lane straight, jumping to P4, 1:26.2 from the Ferrari driver, ahead of his teammate by 6 tenths and ahead of Manolo Villar by 3 tenths. So in front of his fellow countrymen, the best Spaniard so far in this qualifying session, with Nardi Perez also in 7th. But I'm sure he'll be trying to improve his lap. Only marginally, yeah, he aborts his attempt actually.
Yeah, meantime we have Daniel Haddad wrapping up sector number 2. Let's see if he can extend his lead and get himself into the low 25s, the number 92 of the Aston Martin. What?
He's improving. He did a 1:42 on the second sector and goes to a 1:25.375 at the end of the lap. Really good lap from the Aston Martin driver.
In the meantime, we have Manolo Villar. Let's see what he can achieve. Get himself P2 with a good improvement. Nardi Perez aborted his attempt. To have Alessio Di Capo coming up next through the line. He gets himself P2 with a 25.7. Paris Burel in the Haas. What can he achieve? P8 is the best he could muster. Dani Bereznai, though, answering all of his contenders apart from Haddad. 125.5, and now we did see a handful of drivers getting into the 125s. Patrick Cruti also, after aborting his first attempt, comes through the line with a 25.8. Domenico Lovecchio goes into the pits, and Rookie is doing the same. Samuel Bean is about to wrap up his lap. Unfortunately, this outlap is invalidated, and Milan Meyer is right behind him on a flying lap. Let's see what the number 69 of the Alfa Romeo can do, Joanna.
Yeah, finishing up his lap. So let's see what time he can achieve. It's 4th place, 125.7 for the Hungarian driver. In the meantime, we had Dario Iamolo wrapping up his lap with a 126.7, but on the medium compound. So let's see what time. Forgive me. Let's see what time he can achieve when he goes to the softer compound, because I believe he'll be doing that, or again, he might choose to. I really want to start on mediums, so I rather not go to qualifying 3 than put some softs on. But I think he'll try to go for the softs.
Yeah, most drivers have posted their fastest times on the softs so far. So although Samuel Bean is currently on a lap on the medium tire compound, so it looks like he's going to try and perhaps start the race on a different strategy to most of the field, and especially on a different strategy from his teammates, so they can open up each other's possibilities a little bit more.
1 second to his teammate on the at the end of the second sector, so that would put him around P10 at the moment, so a bit of a complicated maneuver to achieve at the moment.
Goes a bit wide out of the last corner, and the last valid lap, he comes over the line and bang on 10th place for him. And meantime, Milan Meyer is about to wrap up a lap, but he goes into the pits. It's Domenico Lovecchio in a bit of a more calm time of this session. Domenico Lovecchio now is the next one to go for a lap. He is on the softs, so let's go what he can do. He could potentially put Samuel Bean out of contention for the top 10, and maybe even his teammates. So let's see if both Ferraris can get through. For now, he is the only driver on a lap. There are a few cars coming out of the pits. I can see one of the Red Bulls, and the other one is Rookie. So I believe it's Rookie, both Red Bulls coming out of the pit lane. After that is one of the Alpha Tauris. Both Alpha Tauris split by one of the Alfa Romeos. But by now, Domenico Lovecchio is on the fastest first sector so far. Unless, again, visual glitch from Codemasters. Nonetheless, we're going to carry on with the Italian driver of the Maranello-based team. Nice and planted through the hairpin of turns 9 and 10. Second DRS zone, or third DRS zone of this lap from him. Goes a dab on the brakes, very late indeed, about 50 meters away from the corner. One of the latest breakers into that corner that I've seen so far in this session. Nonetheless, carries good speeds through that complex of turns 11 and 12. And now let's see what he does. Samuel Bean has resigned himself to qualifying on the mediums for the start of the race, or being knocked out of the top 10. And let's see, Dovece gets himself P2. Great lap from him, 25.5. And looking at the minimum at the moment, it is not Yamulo, but his teammate, Alessio Di Capua, who is about to start a lap of his own. So we have the sister teams very close to each other at the moment. Capua splitting both Red Bulls. Let's see what they are going to achieve. The first one to cross over the line is Pookie, followed by Capua, then Zabo, and there's a bit of yellow flags in Sector 3 as everyone is slowing down to give space to the car ahead in order to not get penalized by dirty air. This one Pookie, who has protagonized some great results. Of course, also his charge from the back at Belgium after the crash in qualifying. If I recall correctly, the number 66 of the Red Bull doing an amazing job to climb back through the field. Woo, major lockup into turn number 8 as the checkered flag is shown to some of our drivers who will not be able to improve their attempts, including Paris Burel, who best case scenario will maintain that P13. We have now Istvan Pookie through the fast and flowing turns 11 and 12, about to wrap up sector number 2, 1 4.5, 3 tenths of improvement for the Honda powered race car. Let's see now coming through the last corner. Looks like everything is well put together for a good result. This one Pookie comes over the line now. It's P5. The Capua now trying to answer. Gets P3. And then it's Emulu finally. Let's see what he can achieve at the end of his lap. El Rookie doesn't improve on that P10. And is dangling himself. Oh, Yamulu won't be able to proceed to Q3. Patrick Cruti now coming over the line. He actually aborts his attempt. And now it's all about the Alfa Romeos. Milan Mayer is a bit slow. And Zoltan Bod, I believed, invalidated his lap. Yeah, so... Oh, and he actually collides with the pit entry. I'm not sure what happened there, but he collided with the pit entry. And yeah, this is it for our session, as Daniel Haddad is on pole. So for the second time, it's an Aston Martin leading the timesheets at the end of our qualifying sessions, Rana.
Yeah, a bit of tough luck for both Alfa Romeo drivers, although Milan, of course, gets into Q3. That incident with Alden right in the end could have costed Milan a position in the beginning of the race, but I think they managed to not get penalized. In the meantime,
just waiting now for the results. Of course, the session is over. Haddad still at the front, of course, still leading. Then 1, 2, 3 for the Italians at the end of these Q2, with Alessio Di Capo also with a good result.
The Hungarians right behind them.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have the 4 Hungarians, Dani Bereznai, Istvan Pookie, then our rookie Milan. Then we have Ben Zabo, Patrick Cruti in P8. So both Mercedes are still able to proceed to the top 10, as well as both Ferraris, both Red Bulls. And unfortunately, Samuel Bean, his gamble on the medium did not pay off.
I think we have to take the yellow shield that we have on our Portuguese flag to white, so we can have a chance with the Italians and the Hungarians.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see how that one goes. We are about to head on to Q3, and it is the top 10 shootout now, and there's no point in hiding any pace anymore if any of our drivers was doing that, which I doubt, but still. Getting our data shown for everyone at home, and looks like it's Van Pookie is the first driver to get out of the pits. I see some action in the Red Bull garage. Yes, looks like he is the first car out of the garage. And we also have, I believe, it's one of the AlphaTauris, exactly. That is Alessio Di Capua. It's Van Pookie. Sorry, Ben Zabo also coming out of the pits. So both Red Bulls and the other car of the Red Bull family are the first to go out. Finally, Patrick Cruti and Milan Mayer getting out as well. we have an interesting group of drivers already getting out there. About 5-6 cars already out on track. Go ahead.
And let me say, an even crazier group staying on the pit. With both Daniele and Dani, El Huki and Manolo Villar are second in the championship. At least the championship standing, you said. Because I noticed that the points from China were included in the championship standing that you mentioned. So I'm not sure how accurate it was. But still, there is no doubt about Manolo Villar's good results.
Okay, so let's take a look at the Capo's lap as we're going on board with him into the last few corners. And looks like he's carrying on a good performance, but then again, the Capua and Lovece have been showing very good qualifying performances for most part of the season, but then in the race everything falls apart, right, Joanna? Could it be today that things change and the Capua actually aborts?
For the AlphaTauri, they don't seem to be changing too much. He invalidated on the last corner, so it invalidates both that lap and the next one. He has to come into the pits. Oh, he opts to. He could have stayed out, but probably because of fuel, he comes into the pits. Bence Zabo will be the second, starting his fast lap right behind his teammate Istvan Puki. Let's see what both Red Bull drivers can achieve on this first attempt on the final qualifying session. Istvan Puki with the better results of the team so far, especially because Bence is still a reserve, I believe. But yeah, let's see what they can achieve so far. I'll be on board with Istvan Puki, but trying to understand the gaps between them when they cross into the third sector.
So we also have Milan Mayer with a good showing so far, as our debutee is in the Q3, so making a good impression for the Alfa Romeo team for sure. Let's see what he can pull off now in these top 10 shootouts. Dani Bereznai, Ruki, Domenico Lovece and Haddad finally came out of the pits. Bit of an offset between the laps and the rivals. Istvan Puki goes for a spin, heading into turn number 13. Hopefully that didn't throw Ben Zabo off, even if just by a little bit. His lap is valid, so they didn't seem to get too flustered by the spinning car ahead of him. He comes over the line now, and it is P1, of course, the first time posted, but Mayer beats him narrowly though, a 125.9 from him. After that, we have the Mercedes of Kruti get himself on the top of the standings with a 125.7. After that, we have Haddad, who is about to start a lap of his own. And now we have the second handful of drivers about to try and set a lap.
Manolo Villar finishing his first attempt onto the last corner of the circuit. So getting out of that corner with the lap valid, and it goes for a 1:25.800. So Mercedes 1-2 so far, looking pretty similar to some races we've seen in this track.
Yeah, exactly. So Puki now about to start a lap, just like his teammate Domenico Lovece. After that, it will be another Italian, Alessio Di Capua, after his misfortune earlier on this session, going to take another crack at it. Not sure as to what extent Istvan Puki is still pushing for his lap, especially since that spin probably left a mark on his tires. And yeah, he's about 5/10 off of his previous lap, so I'm not sure if he's actually going to complete this one. His teammate is pulling off into the pits, as well as Milan Mayer, but let's see. Yes, the second Red Bull also getting himself into the pits. Daniel Haddad is the next one then to complete a lap of his own. Let's see what is first.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'd just like to say a few words. Dani Bereznai with a huge support from our chat tonight. Apparently, his fellow Hungarians all betting on him. We have a poll going on with 241 people already having posted their opinion on who will take pole position, and the bet is high on Dani Berejnei. So far, he has the temporary pole position with a 125.371. Let's see if Haddad can respond to that, or if it will be a McLaren pole position.
Yeah, Rookie gets himself P8, past Puki, and Kappa goes for a spin. And wow, is it the third time? Was it Kappa having also issues in Q1 at the last corner? I'm not sure if it was him or not, but the Kappa once again finding trouble at the exit of the last corner. Fortunately, his spin didn't prove too costly, other than the lap time. He didn't collide with the walls or anything of the sort, so the integrity of his vehicle is still intact. Nonetheless, maybe his confidence, he needs to reset, because his confidence might get shaken after that frustrating end of the previous attempt. Daniel Haddad pulling off into the pits. Yeah.
I'm not sure which of them spun on the previous qualifying sessions, but I'm sure that Alessio already invalidated his first attempt on that final lap when he pulled into the pits. So a bit of a difficult night in that area of the circuit for the Alpha Tauri driver. Let's see. I mean, on one hand, I'd like to see him getting a good qualifying session. On another, last time around they had a good qualifying session and the race wasn't that good. So let's see if it goes the other way. If it's not a very good qualifying, if he can get the points on the race.
Yeah, of course. It's been a tough season regarding the translating of good qualifying into a good race finish. He's been struggling with that most of the season, and looks like the number 23 is struggling a little bit. Also, Istvan Puki, after that mistake, he needs to wait a little bit more for his last crack at it. So, a little bit of peace on track at the moment, as we are just above 3.5 minutes away from the end of our qualifying session, and Patrick Ruti is witnessing some chaos around him with the mechanics, just about to release his Mercedes, his W12, out on the circuit.
Calm before the storm of this still not as loud as W12s or something like that, but still loud power units. Let's see what our drivers bring us to these last attempts. So far we have a really close top three, and then the three behind them, the four behind them, quite close between themselves as well. Let's see if Patrick can make the jump from that second group to the first one.
Now, just a bit to relax for these drivers, just collect themselves, forget any mistakes really, just have focus on this last shot at getting the best lap time possible. This is not an easy track by any stretch of the imagination. You need to try and utilize the curbs to help the car rotate through the corners, but those curbs can help you sometimes, and if you abuse them too much, they can also destroy your lap. So you need to find the balance through, especially the end of sector 1 or the beginning of sector 2 on the slalom that goes downhill into turn 8. Then it's a very difficult braking zone of turns 9 and 10, and the curbs on the outside of the corners that we are seeing Patrick Ruti negotiate at the moment. Any touch on those inside curbs and it's a spin for sure. So a lot to take into account, and even if you survive all of that, you need to make sure to not collect the inside curb of this last corner too hard, and also to not go on the outside curb with too much throttle, otherwise you might spin. So you need to balance a lot of different variables throughout the lap here at Bahrain, and Ruti is the first one to take that challenge as we are closing in on the end of this sector, of this qualifying session number Prix, the RS wide open now, out of turn number 4. Hard on the brakes as the curve begins on the left-hand side of the track to achieve a nice run through turn 4, and now the slalom of turns 5, 6, the left-hander of 7, utilizing the curb on the inside for extra rotation, hard on the brakes, utilizing the full width of the track to maintain speed through the hairpin of turn number 8. Now, hard on the brakes, it's downhill, the weight of the car goes all towards the front tires, especially the front right. It's very easy to lock up a tire and mess your approach through that section. Good exit though, good speed onto the entry of turn number 11, a bit of a touch on the inside curb for it. And now, avoiding the curb on the inside of turn 12, is improving by almost 2/10. At the moment, it's not enough for achieving provisory pole. Nonetheless, he is about to wrap up his lap. He needs a good exit out of this last corner, avoids the curb on the inside, goes early on the power as well, opens the RS, is coming over the line now, and he gets himself P4. It's not enough of an improvement for him. Dani Bereznai now looks like he is a fan favorite for today and is about to take these last few corners as well. Let's see what he can achieve. Can he extend his lead? No, it does not. He invalidates on the exit of the last corner. It is Milan Meyer now about to complete his lap. Can he penetrate into the top 5? Can he achieve pole? Opens the line, and it is a 25-5 P3 for him. Patrick Ruti now and Manolo Villar in P6. One moment, Casbezabo gets P3, and now it's Daniel Haddad closing up his lap at the moment. Let's see, it is valid coming out of the last corner. It comes over the line, and it is pole position. 125-284, and he grabs himself the top spot, unless Lovece can say something about that. Alessio Di Capo is the first of the two, but he has invalidated his lap. A rookie, there is nothing more he can do to go above P9. Lovece gets himself P2 on the board with a 25-356, and he beats the McLaren of Dani Bereznai. He shares the front row of the grid with his fellow Italian Daniele Haddad, and look at that one, under a tenth of a gap between P1 and P3. This came right down to the wire, but Daniele Haddad is still the man of the moment, still on the top of the standings at the end of Q3.
Also half a second between P4 and P6, so kudos to them. Really close between the two Hungarians and the Polish. So let's see what they can bring us in the beginning of this race. We know that there will be a while into the first braking zone, and a long straight afterwards with a bit of an S shaped corner. So let's see what our drivers will be able to do. Let's see if there is no contact between them. It's not very large part of the track, so hopefully they all manage to negotiate it without issues.
Yeah, it's always, as you said, a difficult combination of corners, and even into turn 4 we've seen our fair share of drama into it, especially on the first lap. Then the curbs, it's bound to have we are bound to have a few drivers going side by side into turns 5, 6, 7, trying to outbrake their rivals still into the hairpin of turn 8. This is a track where you can really try and have some side-by-side action. Of course, that slows you down a lot, because for most of this track there's only really one faster line for most corners on this track. So if you lose side by sharing corners, having to battle with some of your rivals, you end up losing a lot of time, especially through the beginning of that sector 2, those flowing slalom. Then after the thirds DRS zone coming into turn 11, we might also see some side-by-side moments, but once again, those might cost quite a bit of time to our drivers. The wait is over for the drivers to get their last adjustments on their setups, on their strategies, and we are going to have now a look at what tires drivers are starting the race on. And look at that, only Alexei Morichon is starting the race on a tire that's not marked in yellow.
Apart from the top 10, you mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex is betting on getting some valuable positions in the beginning of the race, or an early safety car. But then again, they all can go to hard tire if there is that situation. But yeah, let's see what this beginning of race will bring us. Samuel Bin on P12 will surely try to get some positions. Both AlphaTauris couldn't be more in the middle of these grades. One on the softer compound, another one on the medium, so they'll probably won't get in each other's way. Although it seems like El Huki overtook one of them.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Not sure what happened here. So let's see what will happen in this race. I mean, it's 29 laps where anything can happen. I believe they'll mostly do soft, medium, or medium soft, but there might be someone trying to do something different.
Yeah, it is still a high degradation racetrack in terms of the tires, so they can't be pushing too hard. Of course, all those curbs that could end your qualifying lap can still end your race. So it's a different beast, this race. It's still very challenging, but you need to be quite patient. So of course, in qualifying, you are trying to give it your all. You need to be patient around this track in race stream. So, our drivers are getting themselves on the grid. Vadim Tsvetkov is the last driver to join us, bringing up the rear. And in a few moments, we will have orders from the race director to light up those red lights. We have 5 of them now. Lights out. And away we go for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Good start from Haddad, but Lovece is going to challenge him into turn 1. Ben Sabo also challenging Danny Beresnay. We are going 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 into turn number 1. Now in the entry of turn 2, it's Haddad with the lead. It's Lovece right behind him. Then Danny Beresnay keeps ahead of the Red Bull of Ben Sabo, who's still looking on his inside. Milan Mayer, though, challenging the Red Bull of Istvan Puki. Gets himself P5, and looks like the top 5 is quite well behaved at the moment. Further back, though, we have Manolo Villar leading Alessio Di Capua with Rookie and Yamulo right on the back of him. Looking at the inside as he's challenged by Samuel Bin around the outside. There's a bit more chaos at the back as Alexei Morichon battling it out with Codorningolo with his teammate Santiago. Istvan Nagy goes on the inside of turn number 9. Ooh, a few contacts there. Hopefully no front wings were armed during the process of taking those corners. But nonetheless, Vadim Tsvetkov gets the better exit and gets himself a P18, P19 for Nagy Morichon in P20. Zoltan Bora still battling it out with Yare, Santiago and Codorningolo. Gets ahead of the Williams. P15 for Santiago, so a few positions gained, I believe, from him. Further up ahead, it's still Haddad leading affairs as we begin lap number 2, Joanna.
A very good start for Samuel Bin, but great teamwork from both AlphaTauris, occupying a track where 3 cars fit easily with the 2 of them and not letting Samuel Bin by. Dario Yemul and Samuel Bin still managed to do some corners side by side, but so far the Italian getting the best of it.
Milan and Istvan Puki side by side now into turn number 4. It's the inside line for the Red Bull. Let's see if he can proceed and put both Milton Keynes based machines in the top 5. Yes, he does. Alessio Di Capua does the same with Manolo Villar, but Manolo Villar isn't giving up just yet, even though he's forced to take the outside line. He goes for the switchback. It's contact. Alessio Di Capua has to correct him his machine, and now heading into the hairpin. Manolo Villar goes a bit wide and opens the door for Rookie to challenge AlphaTauris Di Capua. Dario Yemolo has privileged view of that battle. The Kappa goes on the inside of Manolo Villar, tries to surprise the Mercedes. He's forced a little bit wide, and he rejoins the track, still ahead of the AlphaTauri rookie, still witnessing that battle. Very well, paying attention to that one, because looks like they are still banging wheels. This could prove costly for some of them. Let's see how that one goes. Rookie is eager to pick up the scraps of any misfortunate action from both cars ahead. Nonetheless, looks like things have calmed down. Manolo ends up losing the place to Alessio Di Capua.
Even without any damage to both of them, this is costly because they've lost, or they're close to losing the DRS margin to Patrick Ruti. So the guy in front will be vulnerable to attacks starting this lap.
Exactly. In the meantime, Alessio Di Capua goes once again on the inside of Manolo Villar. They are still battling it out. This, again, is proving costly because he's already outside of the 1 second margin. Up ahead, Domenico Lovecchia pressurizing Haddad. Still not a way for him to pull through just yet. Vadim Svetkov at the back, pressurizing Codorningolo, who he goes wide and he picks up a penalty for that one. But he still remains in the race. No damage, so just went wide. Just misjudged the speed onto that corner number 4. And a slight mistake gets himself a penalty. Patrick Ruti pressurizing Milan Meyer, who's still doing well to be competitive in his first race here in ORL. Let's see what's the Alfa Romeo driver can achieve today. He's still proving himself to be a competitive driver in a good showing so far. But Kruti, he knows, especially for the efforts for the Constructors' Championship, with Manolo Villar behind him, he needs to pick up the pace, especially since Manolo Villar has already lost the gap to this group. Kruti is surely feeling some kind of pressure. He needs to try to climb through the order. In the meantime, we have side by side between Lovecchia and Adalu, and with the RS assistance, it's a rather academic maneuver, as we do have Lovecchia taking the lead of this race. Kruti overtakes Milan Meyer, and behind him, Manolo Villar overtakes Di Capua, as we are in what, round number 59 of this battle for 8th place, Trana. It's been an interesting one. When you have Vladim. Vladim is out, and oh my god, I don't know. Could we have had a crash more similar to
only if it was on lap 1. Only if it was on lap 1.
I've even forgotten his name.
Nikita?
Yeah, Mazepin. Could we have had a more similar incident? I don't think we can, unless, yeah, it was lap 1. Nonetheless, Svetkov has retired from this race. Domenico Lovecchia is now the new leader of this Grand Prix. Let's see if he can sustain the pressure from his rivals behind him. Patrick Ruti overtook Milan Meyer. Manolo Villar, with all of this, has been able to bridge the gap, and we are back to a big train. Well, the entire field is in the RS zone of each other, so big train still at the moment.
Yeah, good award for Alessio Di Capua and Manolo, who managed to catch up to the guys ahead. And of course to Domenico, who is now leading, although it seems a bit without taking any value from the maneuver. It seems a bit like Daniel Haddad and Dani Berejnei are just looking for now, just trying to keep up, because they know it will be decided at the end, maybe at the pit strategy as well, and especially with the penalties, if any of them get any during this race, it might really affect the result, as I think it was Dani who got it in Belgium, and it really hurt his efforts, although loads of things happened to the McLaren driver during that race. But yeah, for now he's on the top 3, following closely to Daniel Haddad. That he might be thinking about taking a look if Daniele lets that gap to Domenico Lovecchia grow, but so far he's been able to keep it quite close.
Yeah, we've been for most of this lap number 5, we've been following on board of Dani Berejnei, who's trying to put on the pressure on the leaders, keeping them honest at the moment. We are about to start lap number 6. The RS will be wide open at the back of the McLaren and at the back of the Aston Martin. Will he be close enough to overtake Nicola Felice? He actually closes it. That closes his DRS. Feels like he's not under a major threat coming from Bereznai, as Bereznai was too far behind. So that actually closes the DRS. And this is a way for him to save battery and fuel, because he can just keep himself behind Lovece, use DRS to defend from Bereznai, and also manage his ERS by being behind Lovece, who is still doing a good job of keeping everyone behind him.
Yeah. As you mentioned, the pack is still all in the DRS zone from each other. Patrick seems to be the closest one to the car ahead, but it's really a question of where on the track they are. I don't think he'll try to attack Eastern Pookie unless he loses DRS to his teammate. And it's a question of seeing which lap do you think the first drivers on the softs will try to stop?
I'm not sure. I would say about lap 10, 11. I think that this is where the window of opportunity for the pits will open up around lap 10, and then do the remainder 19 laps on mediums. Let's see how that one goes though. Meanwhile, we have Istvan Pukki being under threat from sorry, it was Pukki under threat from Kruti, and Kruti splits the Red Bulls, and this is exactly what I was talking about. The pole is feeling some pressure to move up the order, especially with his championship on the line, and that's exactly what he did. He found a gap on the Red Bulls, and this slots is Mercedes right in. P5 for Kruti at the moment. Further back, we still have, of course, this big train, and I believe, Joanna, that the biggest differences will be made by the undercuts, right? I don't think we will have, of course, the occasional DRS maneuver, but with such a big train, I think it will be, we might have the pack split up only by the time we get to the pit stop windows. But though, let's not forget, these medium runners are doing a tremendous job of keeping up with the drivers ahead, and that means that they are basically keeping up on pace with their rivals in the softs, and Manolo Villar makes a mistake, spins coming out of turn number 13, and he brings himself down the order. Zoltan Boda also lost DRS range to the cars ahead. Daniel Haddad is challenging now Domenico Lovecchia. Dene Beresna is also going to try to challenge the Ferrari driver, who is a sitting duck, as he doesn't have access to the DRS mechanism. Patrick Kruti gets himself P4 as well into turn number 1, and now it's Beresna hunting down Daniel Haddad. DRS wide open at the back of this McLaren. He's not close enough to go for it just yet. Ben Szabo also with DRS over the Mercedes, but not quite enough to pull himself through.
Patrick up to P4.
Yeah, exactly. He just overtook Ben Szabo into turn 1. Rookie got overtaken by Dario Emulo, and it is Samuel Bean now all over the back of his Ferrari. As these soft tire runners are starting to feel some issues with the tire wear. As you could see at the exit of this turn number 8, Rookie having a bit of a fight with his rear tires under traction, and lost out a few tenths. So Samuel Bean will be looking to pounce on the opportunity to overtake the number 21 if he keeps up showing some issues with his tire wear for Mironin.
Curious to see if there will be team orders in the AlphaTauri guys, between the AlphaTauri guys, in the sense that Alessio has lost contact with the car ahead and Dario is right behind him. I don't think there will be needed for team orders for Alessio. Whoa, yeah, a bit of a difficulty applying the throttle, and it will be a simple maneuver for Dario Iemolo. Even before the finishing line, he passes his teammate. and goes up to P8. Let's see if he can get the Alfa Romeo in front of him of Milan. But I think it will be a question of time. The softer compound, in the meantime, his teammate gets the first penalty, and we have El Rookie, the first one to stop into the pits and into the mediums.
Exactly, goes into the mediums. Of course, he'll be losing out on this train. So I'm not sure as to how good of a decision this was. Yes, he does have the fresher tires and he can pump out some quick laps, but he misses out on the DRS, misses out on the slipstream, misses out on the pace advantage, so to speak, that you get from being on this pack and getting the slipstream and DRS. So I'm not sure as to what extent this was a good decision by him. Meanwhile, Dario Lemulo is doing the best he can. He got DRS from Alessio Di Cappa. That helped him try and close in on Milan Mayer, and is really close to him, and he did. Good job by Dario Lemulo. And now Di Cappa, if he puts a bit of pressure on his battery charge, maybe he can get himself closed in on his teammate, but looks like he did have a worse second sector, and we have Samuel Bean all over the back of him.
In the meantime, Dani Beresnay faking a throw into the pits, but staying out. They're quite close to Daniele Haddad, getting to first corner side by side. But it seems like Daniele has the advantage. Oh, but he has a worst angle to the next sequence of corners. Dani is right on his rear wing. Let's see. He goes for the outside now, but he takes off the foot, not wanting to share the corner. As you mentioned, it will only make both of them lose time, and it might result in Domenico Lovecchi just grabbing P1 while they were fighting.
Yeah, exactly. So, Beresnay just showing his attentions. Meanwhile, we had an interesting battle with Alessio Di Cappa, who is showing some issues, of course, as his tires are getting off the cliff in terms of performance, and Samuel Bean overtook him. Nardi Perez also overtook him using DRS into turn number 1, and now it's Paris Burel trying his hardest to get past the AlphaTauri without losing contact to the drivers ahead. This might be a difficult one, since Di Cappa is already very close to losing the DRS to Nardi Perez, especially through these first corners, where you can really see that these soft tires have gone through most of their efficiency. Dario Mulo, though, really closing in on Milan Mayer, and he is looking to overtake into the start-finish straight. Is really glued to that rear wing, and we have the leaders going to the pits. Yeah,
all three of them grabbing a new set of tires. So Patrick Kritik now inheriting the lead, and best of all, no one on his DRS to attack him, so he can do the best he can on his, I believe, on what I believe will be his entry lap.
And in the meantime, Samuel Bean really closing in now on Milan Mayer, who's already been overtaken, and he's actually pushing him out of turn number 4. That's how much of a speed advantage he had. He was bump drafting Milan Mayer coming out of turn number 4. But yeah, these soft runners are really finding some issues right now. And it's a sense of urgency. We can see quite of urgency from these medium tire runners to get away from these soft compound runners, as they're only costing them time. Istvan Pukki gets overtaken by Dario Lemulo, but Samuel Bean is trying to keep up with Lemulo. But now he has 2 cars between him and the AlphaTauri. I'm not exactly sure, as of course these medium runners have been keeping up with the pace of the soft tires runners, because they've been with DRS and slipstream and basically keeping up the same pace. And now, since they are on a reverse strategy, I'm interested in seeing what will be the difference in pace between these drivers on older mediums and the drivers that are on brand new mediums who just pitted right now. So the pace, for example, between Samuel Bean and Daniele Haddad, that would be quite interesting to follow in the laps to come, as many other drivers have pulled off into the pits to complete the round of pit stops. Daniele Haddad is still leading this specific group, with Dani Beresnay right behind him, and Domenico Lovecchi still in what we might take into account as net P3.
And Patrick is still in P4. But I think a bit closer to Domenico. I'm not sure if I don't think he was in the DRS range. So he might use the fight among these three, or the taking the feet off the braking or the throttle to avoid contact to get into the DRS train of those three. He sure has the experience to do that, and it seems like he is doing exactly that. In the meantime, he has Szabo on his DRS range with El Houki right behind him, right behind them, also on the DRS range.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see further up ahead. Nardi Perez trying to put some pressure on Samuel Bean. At least he's able to keep up with the DRS. And Samuel Bean is now has a tough time closing in on Yamulo. Yamulo did very, very well to put two cars between him and Bean. I believe at the time it was Milan Mayer, and after that it was one of the Red Bulls that he was able to put between himself and the Aston Martin, and that results in the current 1.7 seconds. Yamulo could be on the cards for a race win today if the leaders get stuck battling drivers like Nagy and Zoltan Bodo, who are on the rear of those alternate strategy runners group. So the leaders, or the net leaders, really need to try and dispose of those runners as early as they can, because if not, Lemulo, Bean, Perez and the likes of them on the reverse strategy could go on blistering pace on the softs at the end of the race. That could prove costly if Haddad, Berezny and the likes of them are not able to get quickly through the field.
The gap between Domenico and Patrick is still dancing, let's put it that way. It was almost 2 seconds at the beginning of this lap, now it's 1.5, but then again, at this place of the circuit, it was that gap last time around. So while in the meantime, Nardi Perez, the actual P3 at the moment, gets himself penalized, it might cost him a few positions at the end of the race, since he has Paris and Diare in his DRS range, and same strategy. In the meantime, yeah, go ahead.
Now, I would also like to point out, Rookie was P10 by the time he pitted, if I recall correctly. He is now splitting the Red Bulls in net P6. Am I correct?
That is correct. Let's see. You mentioned a lot of factors as to why that strategy might not be the best. I'd like to add, wow, while Alessio Di Capo dives on the inside of Istvan Pukki and Milan Mayer, passing them both into what is P15, but it will be a net P7. I was talking about El Houki. You mentioned a lot of reasons as to why it might not have been the best of ideas to stop so early. I'd like to add one, that is, at the end of the race, he will have more wear on the tires, and that might make a difference. But so far, so good. He managed to grab himself 3 positions. It's out. He's not being attacked by anyone on the DRS range. He needs to close the gap to BenQ, and of course hope that BenQ diminishes the gap to Patrick and gets into his DRS range as well.
And
yeah, in the last lap, I think Daniele, in the last 2 laps, I think Daniele took almost 2 seconds more than that of the drivers who started on medium compound.
Yeah, Yaris Santiago at the moment chasing the group from P2 to P5, keeping up with Paris Burel and Nardi Perez and Samuel Bean. Meanwhile, Codor Ningolo gets past Zoltan Boda. Let's see how that one goes soon. Of course, that battle finished with Zoltan Boda being demoted, but Istvanagi is not too far behind and might pick up the pieces if any of those two make some mistake. Meanwhile, Haddad is gaining quite a lot. I believe he gained a second on this trio just on the previous lap alone. Patrick Ruti, he got his lap closer to 1.5 seconds compared to the Ferrari of Lovece, but looks like that gap has opened up by 1 or 2 tenths again. So Kruti is keeping up consistent pace with the drivers ahead, which is interesting to see considering that the trio right ahead of Kruti is using DRS and is not.
Yeah, it seems like he took. It's the same gap it was last time around at this part of the track. Really, a 1.5 gap between Patrick and Domenico Lovece. It seems like they're not losing too much time, those three, to Patrick, and Patrick is using quite a bit of energy, so it might make a difference at the end if he doesn't catch them quickly enough. The best for Patrick would be to catch them and then go in the DRS range and get some energy back.
Let's see how that one goes. For the time being, further up the order, it's Alessio now putting the pressure on Rookie, going on the inside of turn number 1. Is Tampuki involved in the chaos? And let's see how that one goes.
Much better exit.
Yeah, much better exit
from Istvan Puki. Goes side by side, has the outside, which, he almost touches into the Alessio Di Capo much later braking, but he manages to grab what the P15 position. Let's see if he just goes behind Alessio Di Capo and try to go to Benches Zabo, or if he's going to try to overtake the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see how that one goes. For the time being, Milan Mayer putting the pressure on the trio ahead of him, but looks like Alessio Di Capo got the best out of that specific battle. Istvan Nagy also putting the pressure now on Codorningolo, who was overtaken a couple laps ago by Zoltan Boda. So both McLarens trying their hardest to pressurize the drivers ahead of them. Daniel Haddad is still closing in on this group. And we might have a 6-way battle for a P6 in the next 3 laps.
No, because they'll start pitting. I'm very curious when will that happen. We saw the first drivers pitting around lap 9, I believe. Except for El Rookie, who stopped earlier. So I believe that with the lower fuel these drivers will have at the end of the race, that Yemolu, Bin and Nardi Perez should be pitting anytime soon, as well as Paris Burrell, Yare, Zoltan Isfanagi, and Kodor Ningolo. So that would leave Daniel Haddad with free air if at least the last 2 do it on this lap. But then again, I think that with the pace that Daniele and the 2 behind him are showing, that he'll definitely, he's already seeing the Williams right ahead of him, and if they don't stop this lap, he'll definitely try to pass them. His medium compound tires are on much better conditions than the drivers ahead of him. He's using a bit of energy on the place on track there. I wouldn't dare to, but then again, they're the pros. I've just seen so many people losing the car on that climb up the hill that I just get, I should have betted you on them going into the pits, as they all go into the pits except for Nari Perez and Paris Burrell.
Exactly. So, of course, now Daniel Haddad and his leading group get promoted to P3, P4, and P5. Patrick Ruti lost out a little bit in the previous lap to this group. His gap is now over 2 seconds. At the front, Nardi Perez and Paris Burrell have been inheriting the lead of the Grand Prix. Dario Mulo, despite being the leader of the drivers on the reverse strategy, rejoins the track in P12.
This might be really good. Sorry to interrupt. This might be really good for Nari Perez and Paris Burrell. Dario is on the softer compound, but he will be stuck because he has 4 drivers battling it out right ahead of him. Unless he's able to get rid of them really fast, Nari Perez and Paris Burrell might be able to jump them.
Exactly. Let's see how that one goes. For the time being, Emulu really putting the pressure on Rookie. The grip advantage is really, really big. He goes on the inside of Rookie into turn number 11, and he gets the move done. Very nice maneuver there from the Italian driver. And yeah, the gap is just too big. The gap in performance from these tires is really big. Even though now he might have a tougher time getting through this group because they all have DRS to defend from each other, right? As we have the two remaining drivers on the pits for soft tires, Paris Burel and Nardi Perez. Let's go on board now with the AlphaTauri driver goes on the inside of turn number 1. Milan Mayer gets privileged view of all of this battle. Yamulu is now getting the slipstream off of Alessio Di Capua. He overtakes 2 in the first few corners, and he can make it 3 in 4 corners. And yes, he does. Great job by Yamulu. Grabs himself P6 even. And now...
I don't want to jinx it, but look where both AlphaTauris are after all the pit stops. Let's hope they can keep them.
Yeah, Milan Mayer though go challenge. Sorry, no, it's Samuel Bean challenging Milan Mayer, trying to surprise into turn number 8, and he actually got the better of Milan Mayer, who drops down into P10. And now let's see, Samuel Bean is turning it up to 11, gets himself side by side with Pookie, who has nowhere else to go. Bean with a great maneuver overtakes two drivers in quick succession and is now putting the pressure on Alessio Di Capua. He's trying to possibly benefit from the DRS of...
And behind this one, Pookie with a mistake. Racebug, he drifts out of the first corner of the third sector and loses quite a bit of gap to Samuel Bean, who is now being a bit held up by Dario's teammate Alessio Di Capua, managing to make Samuel Bean not get the DRS from Dario Yamulu out of turn 3.
Exactly. Meantime, Dani Beresne finally pulled the trigger on a maneuver and he gets himself into P1. Great job for the McLaren driver. Of course, Daniel Haddad won't be giving it up that easily. It's following now on the DRS and the slipstream. Dominic Olovecia still keeping up in P3, trying to pick up some scraps if any of those two make some mistake. Of course, Olovecia has been in energy conservation mode for quite a while, just keeping himself with the two drivers ahead, letting them scrap for P1, and, well, managing his resources. So let's see how
managing it, really.
Yeah.
All 3 of them are managing it quite well. Patrick trying to catch them, but on the last inch of energy, while Bence Zabo is already on his rear, trying. He sees the light blinking. He knows the Mercedes driver is a bit of an easier target. So let's see if he tries to pounce on the Mercedes driver or wait to see if he can catch the 3 ahead.
I don't think he has the space to do that at this point of the race. I believe it's currently too far away to really go on overtaking maneuver, despite Patrick Ruti being quite vulnerable in terms of his battery charge. Domenico Lovece peeking at the inside of Haddad, but nothing to come from it. Bence Zabo, again, it was too far away. Milan Mayer, though, as we have lost the deltas, there's actually a bit of contact between Capua, Pookie, Milan Mayer. Yare Santiago now gets himself...
Looking at the inside of Patrick Ruti, let's see. It seems like the Mercedes has the better exit out of the corner. So it's still P4 for the Mercedes, but the first warning of Bence. This might make them lose a bit of time to the 3 ahead. Let's see how the Red Bull driver manages this situation.
Yeah, of course. Meanwhile, while we were talking, Yare Santiago, of course, taking an advantage or making use of this tire advantage, is putting a lot of pressure on Milan. Let's see how that one goes. DRS wide open at the back of all of these cars, but much better traction from Santiago. Right by side by side with Mayer, but he actually lifts off. He doesn't want to share turn number 11 and risk an incident. But he does get much better traction. He's going around the outside. Can he pull it off? No, not yet. Goes a bit wide. Let's see how this one goes now. Once again, he's going to have better traction. And Manolo Villar retires from the session. He did have these connection issues. He came back just to retire the car. unfortunate day for him. Meanwhile, up ahead, Daniel Haddad glued to Bereznay, but not an opportunity to overtake just yet presenting to him. The Yare Santiago with Nardi Perez with Milan Mayer. There's a huge battle now for P10. Goes on the inside. There's contact. Alessio Di Capua gets basically shoved out of the way by Yare Santiago. Misjudged these breaking points, and with all of that, Istvan Puki is still leading this group. Nardi Perez in P11 at the rear. Paris Burel with a privileged view of this battle as Milan trying to defend from Santiago, but to no avail, is overtaken by the Alpine. Nardi Perez is going to challenge on the inside of turn number 8, and of course with the advantage of traction gets past Milan Mayer. Unfortunately drops out of the points paying positions. Perez and Santiago do have penalties for, I assume, exceeding track limits, so for the time being, Milan might still be in contention for a points paying position for the end of this race. Further up ahead at the lead, Lovece still putting the pressure on Haddad and Bereznay, but those two are really close together as well. And we might see some action in the last 5 laps. Paris Burel pulling the trigger on a challenge on Milan Mayer, headed into the last corner. Ooh, there's a bit of wheel banging, slight lockup from Milan Mayer. Oh, that could have proven costly if Alessio Di Capo wasn't so far back. Ben Szabo finally goes for a move for P4. I do believe, though, that battle cost them.
He had to make it because Samuel Bin and Dario Yemlu were catching up to them. They're right in the rear of them with the softer compound tires on their cars. Samuel Bin passed Dario Yemlu quite a few laps ago. They were battling it out. They weren't working together to get to those two in front of them. Dario Yemlu tried to regain the position quite a few times, but to no avail. It's still advantage Aston Martin in regards to these two, but I'm pretty sure they both be looking to the two guys ahead of them with the softer compound trying to pass them so they can move up to P4 and P5. It seems like Samuel Bin will be the first getting a chance to do it, but not right now. Meanwhile, we have a yellow flag on the second sector. I'm not sure what happened. I think it was Paris Burel with a problem. I don't think it was a spin, but he loses quite a few positions. Alessio Di Capo in P13. Yeah, he retires on track. Unfortunate from the driver. In the meantime, we have Samuel Bin right in the rear of Patrick Ruti when they get out of the last corner of this track. BenQ goes to the inside. Patrick tries to come so he can pass. He passes, but then again Samuel Bin also passes them and tries to get Patrick's position. He gets 2 positions in one straight. Dario Yemlu still looks at the inside of Ben Szabo, not able to quite get that position there, but he's on the inside for the next braking zone, and he'll try to move up to P6. Oh my god, a bit of a contact with Patrick Rutik. Both having to take correcting action, but for now it's Dario in P5.
Exactly. Great battling at the moment. Of course, Bahrain is always a great spot for a good racing action. At the moment, the lead is still unchanged. Ben Szabo now with a great battle with Patrick Ruti, Daniel Emulo and Samuel Bin. Both soft runners have gotten themselves not only past Kruti and Connie, but they've also bridged the gap to Domenico Lovece, and these could be a great change in what we have in store for the remainder of the race. Of course, Beans and the Emulos tires are going to wear out quicker than the medium runners. I would say that at this point, the soft runners might still have a slight advantage. I'm not sure if they have anything left to challenge for the leads, though. Yes.
They definitely do not have a battery advantage, and that might just work in favor of 3 ahead. They've been using their battery to get through the field, quite successful, but it might prove up a bit of a challenge to get those final 3 as they have been conserving so much battery between them with their RPs between them.
Yeah, let's see how that one goes from here on in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 1 Samuel being really close to Domenico Lovece. Dario we saw him have a snap of the rear coming out of turn 13 on the previous lap. Zoltan Boda and Istvan Nagy still battling it out in what it seems to be the battle for P12. There's a group we can see on the minimap just started the second sector, and it's a group of about 5-6 cars battling it out very fiercely indeed. But at the front we have also a group of 6-7 cars from P1 to P7, a big train, and looks like these converging strategies are really bringing some excitement to the last few laps of this Grand Prix. Daniel Perezny though still leads at the moment. Daniel Haddad looking for an opportunity to pounce, but the Hungarian driver of the McLaren number 12 is posing himself a great challenger. He's doing himself a really good defense. Samuel Bin though, he might be the one on the charge. Overtake mode engaged, DRS and slipstream. He goes on the outside of Domenico Lovece. He actually eats the back of Daniel Haddad. Is he still having that grip advantage? We've mentioned there's contact. He has to correct the car. And now it's Dario Mulo with the better run out of turn number 3. But doesn't have quite the space to challenge being 4P4, and this might have been it. I'm not sure as to what extent that was being using the remainder of his battery charge and anything he had in the tank to get a podium. Lovece defended. I'm not sure if being has it in himself to challenge once again.
He'd have to. I think he'd have to wait the next 3 laps to get some battery back, but that might cost his tire performance a bit too much to be able to attack Domenico Lovece. In the meantime, the other track, the other fight on track we have is between Istvan Pukki and Milan for what is on track P10, and it will probably be P10 at the end of the race, since Milan lost quite a bit of time to the 2 guys ahead of him. He knew they both had penalties, so it would be positions that he would be able to gain. But so far he's way too far from those 2, and it seems like Santiago and Nardi Perez will be able to get the positions they're in at the end.
Exactly. And the Perezny now, the gap has closed between him and Haddad. Of course, the DRS does help that quite a bit, but we don't see anyone pulling the trigger just yet on overtaking maneuver. But at the back, we have seen some triggers being pulled. It is Istvan Pukki going on a maneuver on Meyer, as they are still battling it out for the last points being positioned, since Ciara Santiago and Nardi Perez already pulled away. Meyer needs to conquer these points being position on his debut on the track. Some argy-bargy there with Istvan Pukki. Pukki takes the better end of the deal.
I just noticed that Santiago has 6-second penalty, so this fight between the 2 of them might really cost them both, or at least one of them, but both, a chance at a points finishing. In the meantime, Yare has a bit of a bad exit out of the airpin, so that might be just the help the 2 drivers in P11 and P10 need to get to him. In the front. In the meantime, let's see. It seems like Sam Albin has been collecting a bit of battery. In the meantime, Daniel Haddad goes into the inside, maybe trying to avoid giving Domenico Lovece the tow he needs to get away from his teammate. Not sure if those 2 are in contact or not. We'll go for what is the second to the last of the race, with Daniel Haddad. Whoa! What a maneuver fight! Samuel been on the last minute, diving on the inside of Domenico Lovece, and now getting a better exit. It's now P3 for the Aston Martin driver. Let's see if Domenico Lovece is able to respond. He's not. So it's P3 for Samuel Bin, P2 and P3 for the Aston Martin drivers if they manage to keep these positions. But I'm sure Daniel Haddad will still try to get a final run at Dani Barezny.
Exactly, Daniel Haddad, big lockup entering turn number 8. We had privileged view of that one. Didn't affect him too much though. Samuel Bin has overtaken Domenico Lovece for a P4. And Dario Mulo in the sidelines, just waiting for an opportunity to explore the tire wear of Domenico Lovece. The two of them have had some unlucky races in this early part of the season. Both of them, though, coming back to this top 5 is surely a good feeling for them. Nonetheless, Lemulo, if he's going to have the opportunity, he might very well be able to overtake and to get himself on the podium, because Samuel Bean is actually losing contact with these two up ahead, and it is a mano now, heading into turn 1 as we begin the last lap. Daniel Haddad with the overtake, but Bereznay won't give it up. He breaks later, that slight contact. Nonetheless, Haddad gets better traction out of turn number 2. It's Bereznay now with the overtake, with the RS, with the slipstream, pulls himself alongside. He is going around the outside of the Aston Martin, and looks like it's going to be a better exit than by Haddad, but the Bereznay still side by side into the slalom, and the McLaren holds into the lead into turn number 8. Another look around the outside, but it is Bereznay with a mighty defense to hold on to the lead of this Grand Prix. In the last lap, Domenico Lovece in the meantime also overtook Samuel Bean, and we have the last DRS zone of this race. Looks like Haddad doesn't have anything else in the tank. He gets closer to Bereznay due to the drag reduction system, but looks like it will not be enough unless Bereznay does some sort of mistake in the next few corners. Let's see how that one goes. Still overtake mode for Daniel Haddad. Bereznay trying to do his best to resist. He's going defensive. Haddad is going for the outside. Will he try to pull off a switchback? Let's see the traction. It will be a drag race now onto the line, but looks like it is for McLaren. Haddad won the first 3 races, but Bereznay now breaks the streak. He crosses over the line, takes home the win of the Bahrain Grand Prix. And Joanna, what have we just witnessed? What a scrap between two of the top racers in the world. What a race, what a win for Bereznay, finally getting the W on his personal account.
He lost the W in Belgium on his favorite track. He had to gain it on the most fantastic way as he just did. A word also to Dario Yemelu, who also had a drag race with Sam Albin to the line, with Sam Albin getting the best after having lost P3 to Domenico Lovece. In the end, it was Istvan Pukic finishing the top 10. It was the... Oh, something happened there. It was between him and the guy who finished P9. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe someone got another penalty in the meantime. With all the action, we might have lost it. He's also driver of the day for Sam Albin, the second Aston Martin driver, not getting the podium but getting driver of the day after his amazing race. Let's remind ourselves that he started from outside the top 10. So kudos to him for getting into P4.
Exactly. So huge scrap for the lead, but Danny Bereznay finally gets himself on the top step of the podium. As you mentioned, the win did escape him, unfortunately, at his favorite track, but now he did break the streak of Daniel Haddad. They put up the best they could. Haddad even went on the switchback on the last corner, but he got a bit of slip on the rear end, and that might have been the difference maker. 50 thousandths of a second separating the top 2 at the end of the race. Lovece with a great podium as well. Samuel Bean from P12 to P4. Lemulo finishes in P5, followed by Patrick Cruti with Ben Sabu, Nardi Perez, and then Milan Mayer on a great debut. Istvan Puki and also Istvan closing the Istvan Puki closing our top 10. Then we have Kodorningol in P12. Zoltan Alessio Di Capo ran out of time to get the full grid. But Joanna, before we head on to what's about,
I'm not sure we are not still recovering from such an amazing end of race. I know I am. I'm pretty sure you are too. What an amazing end of race we were treated to. Danny Beresney finally getting his win. But I'm sure, although Daniele would surely love the win, I'm sure he won't be too disappointed at his performance. He gave it all. He tried on the last lap, his final attack. It was expected, and if it was anyone else, he might have got it. But there was a fantastic Danny Beresney on the other side of, on the other car racing him. So. GG to both of them and to our whole grid, because we were treated to some very interesting battles today. And finally, it seemed like it worked. It worked. Dario Yamalu getting into P5, some points for the AlphaTauri driver. I'm sure that Alessio Di Capo will try again next week, but a good result for the AlphaTauri team.
Exactly, that's old Alessio Di Capo. He got involved in that issue, that instance, Yare Santiago, braking zone, tried to overtake. Of course, he wanted to make advantage of the soft tires. Exceeded himself a little bit, ended up colliding with Capo. I believe Di Capo got damaged because he lost out quite a lot from there on in. Of course, still finally a good result for one element. AlphaTauri squad. Domenico Lovecchio also with a great performance. Milan with a great job to give points. So very, very well. And yeah, I really don't think there's anything else for me to add. Even if I wanted, my voice is starting to not let me. So we'll just wait a little bit longer for our. I'm not sure if any of the drivers will be able to join us.
I think we'll have both Dennis.
Okay, so Danny Beresna and Daniela, that's always they are regulars here in the commentary booth, waiting for them. So we'll wait as they drop in, but before that, just reminding you that we do have a giveaway still live. It is the giveaway for our Mobiuz EX3410R, of course, monitor from them, and to take a shot at winning it, you need to head on to Twitter, follow Mobiuz Gaming, follow Team ORL, like the tweet ORL has posted about this giveaway, and then retweet that tweet. The hashtags you have today and tomorrow, because at the end of tomorrow, the day is over, so we have much time left. So get on the shot at win. Mobiuz X3410R, new monitor. Mobiuz, one of the partners ORL. So we'll just make a quick ad break and be right back with the from drivers. Exciting race. Oh, we are back to the booth, and we have been joined by some of huge part of the show today. Let's now speak with Daniel Haddad. Unfortunately, today you couldn't make it for 4 out of. But still, a mighty challenge you and Berezna had, especially at the end of the race. What do you have to say about Bahrain Grand Prix?
Yeah, it was the race I was expecting, to be honest. I know that was in the position I was at the end of the race was a 50-50. I think if I was a tiny bit more aggressive, I could have actually win the race. But but with Danny, I feel that I need to race fair because he's one of the fairest guy I have faced in esports, and I know that if there is a contact with him, is because of a mistake of one of us. So probably if I had another rival, I would have pushed a bit more wide the other car. But as I said, I'm happy in the way it was. Obviously, 50,000 just a bit to win the fourth in a row. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but at the same time, I'm happy for Danny, and I think he drove pretty well. And last lap battle has been very interesting and I think exciting to see. To be fair, I was living a flashback, a rewind, because we had already a kind of battle between each other in Bahrain in this summer and was ended in the same way, with the difference that in the last corner I was able to get a better traction. This time, honestly, he probably remembered that situation and it was perfect in the way he defended the position. So it's okay. A shame, but has been a fun end of this very tactical race because honestly, in Bahrain, you cannot do a lot. It's all about last couple of laps.
Juana, do you have anything?
That what Daniele just said was something that we mentioned during the race that would be hugely tactical, and it would be decided on the last laps. But I'm pretty sure that both Racebug and me were not expecting to be that tactical, and that decided on the last corner of the last lap, even into the to the line. As you mentioned, you and Danny have been racing each other for quite a while. Which of you do you think will take the best out of it in Japan next week?
I don't know. It's going to be a different race there. Obviously, it's a different track in Bahrain. We know both of us that even if you have like a bit of advantage on pace, you cannot disappear. The RS is just too strong. Japan is another race. I didn't have it also in esports, so I really didn't play the track so much. I will try to prepare it in a decent way. I expect another battle because I mean I would be crazy to think to go on track and win easy whenever there is Danny here. So it's gonna be a battle, and I will try to be able to fight him at my best.
Still about this race tonight. Did you at any point think that Samuel and Dani would be an issue at the end of the race, considering they were on the softer compound?
To be honest, I was trying to manage them. I knew that Samuel was arriving. I knew that when he was arriving, his soft tires would have been a bit in a difficult condition, so not a massive advantage compared to our mediums. And my goal was actually to open the gap to Danny during the lap, and then getting it back in the DRS train on the straight. In this way, Danny, Domi behind, couldn't overtake me because I would have been enough fast to defend with all the DRS on the straight and all the slipstream of Danny, and the same for Samuel behind. I was expecting him to have a bit of issues with DRS because obviously he had to do a lot of overtakes in the second stint, and so honestly my goal has always been managing the situation and then drive in the last couple of laps and fighting Danny.
Oh, thank you for your words. And well, from your part, unfortunately, it was only P2, but nonetheless, it's still a great result with championship. And yeah, hopefully, we'll be a good race. And
Thanks to you. See you soon. Congrats, Danny.
Yeah, congratulations to you too. Thank you for the nice interview. And well done. You cannot win every single time, but I think you were faster this time as well. So I got pretty lucky. I will take it. It's really hard to win against this guy, especially in racing conditions. He's super fast. So well done, man. Well done.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate from you. You know it.
good night, Daniel.
Good
Uh,
night, guys. Thanks so much.
let's transition to bringing it to Danny Bereznai. Finally won. Danny finally won, and it did not get the best of luck. Things didn't go your way at Spa. I know that was one that you really wanted, but you got the one today. You can maybe carry some momentum for the next few races. How do you feel about this race?
Yeah, this has been a pretty hard race. Yeah, I'm disappointed about Spa. Now luck turned around, and I'm really happy with that. Obviously, there is still a way to go in the championship to score some points. Haddad has a big lead. I didn't complete the first two runs, but I think if I point out to maybe come second at the end of the season, that would be pretty awesome for me. But maybe even a miracle happens. I don't know. Today it happened because I think I wasn't the fastest. I didn't win the qualifying, and then in terms of race pace, I followed Haddad long because I felt like he has the upper hand between us two, and I knew that the alternate strategy guys will be up on us at the end of the race. So obviously I didn't want to get into the lead just to slow the first pack down because then I hinder all of our opportunities. So I let Haddad to do his job, but then Iamulo started to pressure us, and then I needed to make a move, and I got to the lead quite early. I think it was still 6, 7, 8 laps to go, and it's pretty hard to manage your ERS when you are leading. I think on this track, maybe around 5% of charges up if you don't even use any ERS. But once Samuel Bean catched our pack and Lovece, I think in the Ferrari, he started to push. I needed to make sure I push my energy as well because then I would have been double overtook, and that's not good. If you are second, it's okay, you still have chance, but if you are third, you have a really difficult time because the front of you, the guy also has DRS, so it's not easy at all. And yeah, I managed to keep third, but in the last two laps I only had like 70% and had like 85%, and he had DRS as well. So even while I was defending, sometimes I didn't use my energy. I just needed to trust my guts and come back in the braking zone, as you saw in the last lap in turn one, and then be behind, the last DRS opportunity. And then I tried to make an overtake around the outside, and I kept it accurate. It worked pretty great. And then the defense was extremely hard, and we see that Haddad actually made a switchback, and I think he would have won this race if he had enough energy at the end, but he pushed it in every single straight, and I really focused that to have in the last, two straights some ERS, even if it's just 15%, it's more than nothing, and basically that 10-15% that I managed to save saved my race, and obviously tactical positioning of my car. Emotions were high, stress was high, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm really happy. This is great practice for esports, and this game has not been my favorite in terms of the handling model, and I'm pretty happy to be able to compete still at this level, um, even with all the discomfort I have.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a tough one, as you mentioned. The emotions were high. Even we could feel that from the boat. Bahrain usually is like that, right? It is a track that it usually builds up. You can easily keep up with the driver ahead within the RS and saving your battery, and it all really builds up into the final few laps, and everyone just shows their game and pulls the trigger, right? So mentally, like, how did you prepare? Because of course, throughout the race, you had to sustain the pressure from behind you, but also from the managing of the race standpoint, you knew that for the most part, the real challenge would only come in the last few laps. If fact, correct me, please. But yeah, how mentally, how was like preparing for those last few races, laps? Sorry, because with 2 laps to go, that was really when things started.
So I always look the gap between Haddad and the third guy, and I always kept in mind that position that I maybe do some some DRS strategy, maybe let Haddad go intentionally just before the sensor and then open DRS myself. But I knew that there are so many guys out there attacking, and it's super risky, so I just needed to drive as perfectly as I could. It was basically qualifying laps in the last few laps. Full accuracy. I didn't get a warning in the whole race. I'm pretty happy with that. Sometimes I was really, really close to the limits, and yeah, uh, with the ERS I had, with the gap I had in the last few laps, with the lines I positioned the cars, I was able to defend.
Okay, Danny, congratulations on finally getting a win. Thank you for your words. Well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you all next time. Thank you for the stream. Goodbye.
Bye. Oh, we have another driver here in the booth with us, and I'll transition it to our resident Spanish speaker. Let's go on to Joana. Joana.
Yeah, so I'm going to interview him in Spanish and then translate it for the stream. Nardi, buenas noches. Bienvenido. Háblanos un poco de tu carrera.
Hola, buenas noches. Pues tenía pensado empezar fuera del top 10 y después la carrera ha sido un poco difícil porque el setup que llevaba era un poco inestable. Y después también en la estrategia quizás hice el pit stop demasiado tarde y ya perdí todas las oportunidades de llegar al grupo del líder. Pero en general el ritmo y todo era bastante bueno. O sea que eso es un resumen más o menos de mi carrera.
So Nardi tells us that he was thinking about starting out of the top 10 and that he felt the setup was a bit unstable for the race. He lost a little bit of time, but he thinks he had a very decent pace during this race. Nardi, háblanos un poco de tu campeonato hasta ahora, 4 carreras en que tienes vindo a mejorar. No terminaste en Canadá y terminaste en P13 fuera de los puntos en Bélgica y finalmente algunos puntos en Zandvoort y hoy con 2 octavas posiciones. ¿Hasta dónde crees que puedes ir en esta competición?
Pues hasta el momento el campeonato está siendo un poco difícil para mí. O sea, no he podido practicar demasiado. Y hoy me esperaba un poco más porque es un circuito que me gusta. Pero ha sido unos resultados, eso, no demasiado buenos porque por falta de tiempo y no practicar. Pero espero que a partir de ahora pueda practicar algo más y, no sé, quizás algún podio, a ver si se puede pelear por la victoria, pero sí, es culpa mía por no poder practicar más tiempo.
Gracias. Nari is saying that I asked him about a bit about the championship so far. So he says that it's been a bit tough so far without being able to practice too much. That he hoped tonight would be a bit better since he really enjoys Bahrain, and he hopes that from now on he will have more availability to practice and try maybe fight for a podium as the win might be just a bit too hard. Nardi, gracias por tus palabras. ¿Quieres añadir algo más?
No, muchas gracias por invitarme a la entrevista y espero que en el futuro pueda entrar a las entrevistas más a menudo porque siempre me pasa algo y no puedo entrar y nada más eso. Muchas gracias y espero volver a entrar aquí a las entrevistas.
Gracias. So final words from Nardi saying that it has been a bit tough to get to the interviews on these last few races, but he hopes he will be able to join us a bit more in the future. Racebook, I think that's all for tonight.
Yeah, it is all for tonight. Thank you, Nardi, for your words. Thanks to everyone who joined us in this broadcast and a very exciting race, one of the most exciting races. And hopefully you will stick with us as we move to Asia and we move to Japan for the next round of the championship. From me, Ruben Reis Bagmania, and beside me in the commentary booth, Juan Gaunt Brito. Thank you very much for that side of amazing time.